Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to spend your sunny Saturday here for a little bit with us. We are members of the Milwaukie Arts Committee, and we have art on the wall here in the community room. So there's many layers of community and library love going on, and we all are volunteers. And we thought instead of just having a little show where you could stand around and look at art and talk about art, we also wanted to talk about the Arts Committee and volunteering and why art matters and why it's important. And you're probably in this room because you share some of those values and thoughts. And we asked the amazing Ariella-Sophie, who is, what's her title with the?
I'm the Community Engagement and Public Programs Manager with the Clackamas County Arts Alliance.
That's what she does for the whole Clackamas County.
Yeah.
And so she...
And I'm a Milwaukie resident as well.
And she lives here, yes. And I've been able to get to know her. She comes to our meetings and just is the bridge between all these other arts committees in Clackamas County, and it's just awesome. So she agreed to ask us some questions, and you're all here if you want to ask us questions too, and we're going to talk about art, and we're glad you're here. So thank you. And my name is Sarah, by the way. I should have said that in the beginning. Okay.
So as Sarah said, I'm Ariella-Sophie. I use she, her pronouns. I'll just ask some questions and we can have it be pretty open. I feel like these are lovely people and these are lovely people, and we're all here in a big, beautiful community together at the beginning of the year. And it's, for me, I think it's really important to remember how we're all connected and the way that art builds bridges in all of our lives. So I'll just invite everyone. Maybe you all in the audience know some of these folks, maybe you don't know any of these folks, and that's all great. Can you just tell us your name, what, pronouns, anything that really excites you about art? Maybe you can point towards where your art is in the room. Start off with that.
Okay. My name is Sarah Love McCoy. Sarah Love is my artist name, and I have a couple pieces of Weird Wild art over there made on recycled plywood and lots of layers of collage and paint. I make a little calendar as well every year. It's kind of my mainstay where my art gets to live out in the world. And I've been on the Arts Committee for about 3.5 years now, and I live in the Ardenwald neighborhood. I think that was all the things that you wanted or more. But
something that excites you about art and art making.
Oh gosh. Oh, that's a big thing. I love just seeing what happens. What excites me is that I rarely have a destination when I'm making art. I don't really have a thing I'm trying to do. So what excites me is to kind of be led by colors and shapes and symbols and textures and see what happens and what comes out. I love that part.
Howdy y'all, my name's Hamid Shibata Bennett. This is my second time on the Milwaukie Arts Committee. The first time I served 5 years and became chair, and then the city made me volunteer of the year in the pandemic, and then I took a break, and now I'm back. And as a lowly member, and I love having less responsibility. I'm really tickled that we're all here today sharing about art and creativity. It's been a really pivotal part of my life to be creative for most of my life. I'm a healing artist, so I do myofascial body work and have a practice in downtown Milwaukee. I'm a musician. I play lots of different musical instruments and sing, and I'm in a band, and we're about to go in the recording studio again in March, and here at Chapel Recording. And here I'm sharing my photography, and I'm a photographer for the city. I have been since 2016 or so. I also do photography for North Clackamas Parks and Recs District, so life feels like it's in a sitcom. I got a couple of my photos here on Gallery Rack Canvas. These are all, there's no Photoshop in my photography. It's all created in camera. And these are longer exposure shots using camera movement, fire. And I've got a bunch of other prints on wood over here. It's kind of looks like Instagram because they're all square. And what excites me about art is that if you look around the room, we've all got a really different expression, right? There's all these artists here, and none of us are replicating one another. It's all vastly, vastly different. And I think we do art through the lens of our own heart, taking in the world and sifting it through our experience and then expressing it in whatever kind of avenue it is, whether it's painting or photography or sculpture or whatever. There's can be so many forms of art, and we're at a really interesting time right now, a pivotal point in history, and I'm excited to see what our community does, taking in the grief and the chaos of the world and sharing it with our community. So I want to inspire all of you to be creating art and sharing it.
My name is Jeanette Owen. I've been on the Arts Committee since the end of 2022. I'm currently the chair of the Arts Committee. I got involved because I loved Porch Fest so much. So one of my joys in creating art is creating events, and that's really what drew me to volunteer here. I was a photography major in college years and years ago. I had children pretty much immediately after college and kind of moved away from it. I have 2 photographs here, and I was actually inspired to pick up a camera again when Sarah asked us to to do some art for this. I would say my art, generally my creativity comes out, I knit a lot, I bake a lot, I garden, and I love to throw events for people too. So the thing that really excites me about art in general is creating joy for other people.
Hey there, I'm Marico Faye. I have been on the Arts Committee for a few months, since the summer, I guess. My art is right over here in the corner. I'm primarily a photographer. I also work with encaustic wax when I want to get a little bit more tactile. I moved back to Oregon after living in Mexico and New York and Austin at various times, kept being pulled back here, and most recently in Milwaukee. And love just partly that it feels like Portland in the 90s to me, and also that it's so community and neighborhood focused. And so being involved in the Arts Committee was a great way of bringing together my creative practice, my love of community, and getting to be more involved in a place that I love. I started as an actress and a dancer when I was very young, and transitioned into visual art in college, had a career in marketing, became a professor, went back to marketing, and I think throughout everything, storytelling has been really important to me. So whether it's trying to get people to take an action on a website, or whether it's visual storytelling, I think that's something that really motivates me in any creative practice. And I love how art can show us different perspectives and different experiences that we aren't aware of. And I connect with that when I make art, and I connect with that when I see art. So I think that's, part of what excites me.
My name's Whitney Lyons. I'm a photographer. My stuff is these 4 portraits here in the middle. That's primarily what I do is photos of couples, of families, of individual portraits. So I'm lucky enough to have it be my full-time job, and that's the best part of it, is just loving what you do. I got involved with the Arts Committee because I wanted to be more involved with my community. I wanted to meet sort of like-minded creative people. It's always fun just to chat with other creative people, just getting to know them, bouncing ideas off each other, whatever. I feel like when you're in that kind of creative, whether I'm talking with other creative people, or lately I've just went to the new Portland Art Museum, all that kind of stuff just gets me really excited about art again, I think. And then it kind of makes you come up with new ideas. I love working with shadows and lights and movement and all that kind of thing. And seeing paintings at the Portland Art Museum, that kind of thing, gives me some cool ideas for photography, even though it's a totally different medium. So yeah, I'm just excited to know these awesome people now, and be a part of my community, and make Milwaukee even more beautiful with all the art. So
that's awesome. Hi, my name is Benjamin Dewey. I use he, him pronouns. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, and my dad was supervisor of public programming at the Art Museum there. And so from the time I was a little kid, I worked on projects so that when people came in, you had to have it be a thing that anybody from age 5 to 95 could do, and it was in conjunction with shows about whatever. So if we would, and Cleveland Museum of Art is awesome. Like, even if you don't know anything about Cleveland, you should know a handful of things. That it was a place where robber barons spent a lot of money, and so and you drive down MLK Boulevard, the remnants of their old mansions are still there, but it's become a public park, which I love. And then you get to the museum. So the museum, the symphony, the Natural History Museum, Case Western Reserve that does astronomy. I'm doing a pitch for Cleveland, but it's relevant because it was an amazing place to grow up. So when I was a little kid, I got to play with actual Kachina dolls. I got to put on parade armor from the 17th century. I got to see, sketches for sergeant paintings and stuff like that, where they're kept on these metal racks because, okay, the museum puts this out. That's not, that's the showcase piece, but they have this other stuff in case they want to do a special type of exhibition. So when I was a little kid, my dad's job initially was to take these works of art and put them up around Northeast Ohio so that people could have access to them. The museum is free to the public. It's amazing. So he would put this stuff up and he'd drive around a truck that had these posts that were covered in carpeting. So he'd pick me up from elementary school after he'd done his drop off and I'd swing on the posts and whatever. That was the fun part that got me into it. But then as I got older, I would help him with projects and stuff like that in conjunction with these exhibitions. So from the time I was a little kid, I got to see all kinds of artwork. So I love abstraction and all these other things, but I ended up drawing comic books for a living. That's what I do now. So I draw comic books, but I have an extensive history in fine art. And what I love, and this is the thing I was going to say, what I like about art is that it's never finished, your development, and it's not zero-sum. There's not one perfect way to do it. And when somebody comes up with some innovative way of expressing the way that they interpret the world, because everything is abstraction. Even the words I'm using now are just symbols that we use to try and be understood. And art affords that opportunity continually in an unfolding way. My professor in college for anthropology said that culture is play with form, and I think about that across the board. So there's lots of different ways to be an artist, there's lots of different ways to be creative. I also play music and make stuff with my hands, but most of the time I draw, and I really like guitar players and old-timey blues music, and so almost everything that I draw looks like that. So that's my stuff.
And can you show us the t-shirt you're wearing?
Oh yeah. So I did the design for the Bing in the New Year shirt.
Oh, yes. And Porch Fest and the new Pet Pal for Millie?
Yeah. But the nice thing is being part of the Arts Committee, it's not like, oh, I come in and here's my design. If you like it, great. We bounce stuff back and forth off of each other. And I think there are ways in which it does feel very community-based and way better than working with some commercial client. And they'll tell me if they don't love it, or politely. But then the one we chose this year had been a kind of runner-up the previous year with the baby, and I became a new dad, so I'm like, all right, perfect year for a baby on the shirt. So, yeah.
Nice.
I feel like I'm thinking of two questions for you all. We'll talk more about Milwaukie Arts Committee, I'm sure, throughout, and I'll make sure there's space for that as well. But I at least have been thinking about, maybe it's New Year energy, but transformational moments. And maybe that's a time when you struggled with something and had to learn and adapt, or maybe that's a moment when you encountered something in this world that really inspired you. So I'm wondering for all of you, has there been a transformational moment, either early on, maybe recently, within your thinking or your creative work?
I'd have to go with the first thing that popped in my head, and for me, I did not have any very clear gift as a child, or was told that, oh my gosh, your talent or your art, and I didn't even know that art school, I didn't know that was even a thing that you could go do. I became an artist out of sort of this just draw this desire to go to an art store, and how good that felt just to walk down the aisle. And then, you know, so over the years, for me, the transformation has been the imposter syndrome of not having experience, not going to art school, not being kind of in the art world at all, not knowing art history or anything, and just the stubbornness of just keeping making art because I just had to keep making art. And then to make a little thing like a little calendar every year that became a vehicle, like a purpose for me to go, well, this is why I'm making this art, so I can put it on March, you know, calendar or something. And so all of that I feel like has been a transformation over time. But when I'm standing here, now that I am a full-time artist as my career, and looking back, you know, 20 years ago, to think about that person that was so intimidated, you know, you could ask my friends, they would say, oh, she's an artist. I couldn't even like say that, as I couldn't even like claim that really as a job or a title or even a thing that I did. So I think the transformation of coming through all that to, you know, just put it all out the window and say, if you make art, guess what, you're an artist. And like what has been said, that can look like anything. That can look like your garden. That can look like a quilt. That can look like anything. So to really embrace and I'm a champion to tell everybody that they're an artist, because I really feel like it is such a almost taboo thing, or like lucky people get to do it, or, you know, that type of stuff. So I really feel like that transformation over my life and career has been empowering, and I'm glad that I didn't let it stop me, or, you know, have too many times where I threw the art in the trash, or, you know, like that. So make art.
Yeah, totally make art. So transformational things. Gosh, I reckon the most transformational part of my life was going through and being diagnosed with a rare lymphoma when I was just out of high school. It was just a really pivotal year. Like, my girlfriend at the time had medulloblastoma, a brain tumor, and then 6 months later, 2 weeks after high school, after 9 months of stumping the doctors, they finally diagnosed me with a cancer. And so it turned out to be like super duper rare. There was 9 documented cases before mine. I was the first to live beyond 72 months. And that was 1991. So I've made it this far. And part of one of the pivotal moments for me, which was at kind of a breaking point of like, can I still do my art? I was a young guitarist at the age of 18. I'd been playing for about 3 years. And wonders of chemotherapy gave me nerve damage in my thumbs, and guitar was one of those things that I first found that let me express what was inside in a clear way through these notes. And after treatment, I picked up a guitar pick, and the guitar pick would just fall out of my hands. I've got really great thumb strength now, but it's been a lot of years. I was a little old man for many, many years, had really limited mobility, could walk 2 or 3 blocks. Before going to massage therapy school in 1999, and that started changing my life. And I've been finding health since then. And I feel really fortunate now to have health, because it lets me express in many different ways. And being in this community is a healing thing. Like, being amongst all these artists and friends here is a healing thing. And so self-expression has been a part of my healing journey since I was pretty young. And I feel like we all need to do it. You'll understand aspects of yourself you could not otherwise, had you not expressed through a painting, or through dance, or through poetry, whatever. Just it's really, really pivotal, important to express. So that's been my healing journey, has been informing my art, informing what I can do. I've got to always manage my energy levels and get rest and do a lot of really good self-care, even though I have more health than I ever have before. It still measures out in doses like what I can do in a week, and I feel really fortunate to be able to do a lot these days and feel like I'm contributing to part of this community, and to feel I'm feeling healthier and healthier being a part of this community. So I want to thank you all for being a part of it and being here.
This is a little bit of a hard question for me. I think something that really has changed and inspired me over the years is that I don't necessarily have to create my own art in order to help support art being out in the community. I started working when I moved to Portland with a photographer friend and using my skills of organization, things that I was really good at, to help him put his art out in the world. That was really inspiring for me to be on the Arts Committee too, that it doesn't necessarily have to be about my own art, but what can I do to help other people express their art and get their art out in the world. And I think that's that's the part of being on the Arts Committee that I love. I love things like this, that I can see other people bring their visions into fruition. And if I can help with that, that brings me a lot of joy too. And that is creating art, even though it's not necessarily by my own hand, but having a part in it.
Yeah, I think of transformation in art two ways. I think art is transformation. I think that I mean, for me, I definitely create art in times of transformation, and I am transformed by creating art and seeing it. And I realized, as I was looking over here, listening to these lovely folks, that each of those photographs were created in big times of transformation. And the first one closest to the window was when I was going through a divorce after 10 years. And I felt like I had totally lost myself and my sense of identity. And I was creating images. I was in grad school at the time. And so it's like I had to turn something in every week. And I was just creating where I was and how I felt. And it was during a time where I would leave and go back, and I would get kicked out and go back and back and forth with my ex-wife. And so I photographed myself in the hotel rooms and friends' houses where I was staying, and didn't know what I was saying or doing with it, but reflecting back on it afterward, it became this small project, but something that was really meaningful. And I tried to make an image at the end of all of that to kind of sum it up, and realized I couldn't do it. The blank expression in that image and in about 10 others was something that I couldn't recreate. It was just this experience. The one of the woman in the red dress on the other side was created in 2020 after my family's home burned in the wildfires. And that's my sister in the water, and it's really just similarly kind of documenting this moment, or many moments, years of grief and letting go and growth and getting to know my family and myself in different ways, connecting with the landscape in new ways. And then the middle one was when I was diagnosed with bipolar in my mid-30s, and also kind of just documenting how I felt and using art to be really present and to, again, kind of question everything that I knew or thought or felt, and to use both the act of making art and the reflecting back on it and looking at the memories from a bit of perspective to understand my experience more. So yeah, art is all about transformation.
Yeah. There's so many different moments, I guess, that I'm thinking of, and I guess I'll start. I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do in college, but I went into the radio and television side of journalism, and so that's where I thought I was going to do that for sure. And then I graduated, and I was like, you know what? I like the writing and the photography side. So I decided I was kind of that typical. I don't know. In my mind, I wasn't really ready to settle down and get a job, so I looked, but obviously need money, so I looked at a program in Ireland that was doing a paid internship for 3 months, And so I applied, and it was basically, I worked at a small newspaper outside of Cork, and I wrote for them, and I took photos for them. They were small enough that they just kind of thought, okay, as a beginner, we'll teach you. I was lucky to work with some really cool people. That lasted for about a year, and then I kind of got the travel bug, and so a good friend of mine that I met at the paper was English, and we kind of did some traveling with some other friends, which also really inspires me. You know, all the like Southeast Asia, we did Australia, New Zealand. We ended up living in New Zealand for 2 years, and I worked for a magazine there. Same kind of thing where I had had a little bit of experience at that point, so I was doing writing and photography for them. I lived there for 2 years, and then I still wasn't done. Didn't want to come back yet, so I decided to go to actually photography school for a year. So I moved to London because I found a school there, and yeah, that was really cool. It was a school where it was art school, so there was a lot of different forms of art. I was in the photography side. I met some really great people. I ended up meeting my husband in London as well. But that, I think, kind of just, I knew that's what I wanted to do at that point. I gave photography tours. I worked at the college for a little bit after that. And yeah, I think just to touch on something that Sarah said about the imposter syndrome, I think that is, I don't know if I'm going out on a limb here, but I think most artists have that. Especially, I think, with the internet these days. It's so hard not to compare yourself to other artists. I really try not to. But seeing so many amazing things out there, it's like sometimes you get in this mood where you look at something and you're like, why do I even bother? I'm not that good. Why do I think I can do this? And so it's a constant reminder, you know. You really have to sometimes just not look at that stuff, but then other times I'll see it and I'll get inspired by their work. And so it's really, you know, kind of a battle of the mind sometimes where you're like, oh, should I bother? And then you're like, oh yes, I have so many ideas. Yeah, that's all I say.
Yeah, I think that's something I was going to touch on too, that, you know, if we're talking about transformation and how you make choices about the stuff you do, I think there does need to be this balance that you have between who you imagine you would like to be under ideal circumstances, and then what does life tell you about what you're actually capable of doing or what people respond to. And like, you know, I went to school and I thought, well, sophisticated artists make paintings. That's where the real smart stuff happens. So I'm gonna go to the painting department. And I did, and it was great. And I had great teachers, and they helped me learn to talk about artwork in ways that then allowed me to reframe lots of different ideas and process visual thinking in a way that I wouldn't have done if I had just been drawing stuff on paper, probably. And then, so I graduated after getting a degree in painting. But my last project, my thesis project, was a comic about a fictitious blues player. And I was like, well, you know, okay, I'll stick around Cleveland. I'll teach guitar lessons until I'm ready to move to Portland, which was my dream because my favorite comic book artist lived here, my favorite musician lived here. And I came out here, so like, you know, I was a painter, came out here, I had been a guitar teacher, I landed here. There were everybody wants that cool job. So you get here and you're like, you know, what you are is a barista. And then you're a guy who works at a pizza place. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. Drawing chalk drawings of pizzas is not enough. I'm going to do whatever I can to get a job with artwork. So then I worked in a before and after school program for kids aged 5 to 10 for 2 years. And they didn't want to promote me either. They're like, you're a great teacher, and that's it. And like, there was no upward mobility. So around that time, I was like, well, I don't want to do this either. I want to draw comic books full time if I can. And a friend of mine from Cleveland had said, there's this guy out there, his name's Steve Lieber. You should look him up. If he's you know, if you ever have a chance, you should talk to him. So I talked to him at a convention, and he's a big, tall guy. He sounds like this. And so when I asked him, is there any, what would you suggest? He said, well, I could come into my studio and you could do some backgrounds for me. And because I'm from the Midwest, I was like, that's so nice. And then I worked at a pizza place for for an after school program for another year. So when I finally got up the courage to be like, okay, I'm gonna go in and this is what I'm gonna do. I joined this studio because they had an internship program. I did that for, it was supposed to be 3 months, and I was like, I'm gonna stay until they kick me out. And they never kicked me out, and I became a professional comic book artist. Then I did that for a while, and you realize it's like any other form of art. There's cool kids, and there's in groups and out groups, and there are things you can control about people's reception to your work in terms of how much you put out, but you can't control their reception to it, right? So or of it. So I had this experience where I'm working in this field, I'm doing the best I can, you're working with collaborators who can be a big deal or not, and every project you do is a chance for people to get to know you, and you kind of have to reinvent yourself. And I kept saying to interns who would come through the same studio, avoid having a style for as long as you can, because you don't want to get pinned down. And I said that to this guy who was an intern at one point, and now he draws comic book covers that are 3 or 4 a month, and it's all in the same style, because people know what to expect. And so the transformational part is you're going to keep running into walls necessarily. Sometimes it's helpful because that friction can be useful. If you're just doing the same thing forever blissfully on your own, like Henry Darger, and nobody sees your stuff, and then it all comes out in one big glut, and people are like, what a weirdo, this is great. That's a separate thing. But most of us don't have that experience. So there are times where, just like Whitney was saying, you have to look at what you do, maybe reevaluate it, have this balance of ego and a willingness. You gotta believe it enough that you're willing to make stuff, but you can't believe your own hype so much that you're not willing to push through that initial set of ideas you have to try something else. Because you might find something in the long run by trying something outside your comfort zone. And I just was talking to Marico about this, that I don't feel like I do enough that I'm well regarded amongst my peers in my industry, but the fans don't respond to me, except for in rare instances, and it's like David Hasselhoff being big in Germany. Okay, great, the Germans love me, but that's it. So now I'm trying to figure out what is it that's missing, and so I'm pushing myself to do things I've never done before. Get past my ego, get past the typical things I've done. So you have to do it. It's part of the nature of making work, is finding new avenues and not being scared to follow them, even if it's, okay, you're floating on a log in the middle of the ocean and that's your style. Okay, but over there is an island full of all kinds of interesting stuff that will make you better, probably. So you're gonna let go of the log and you gotta swim for that. But it might be real bad until you get there. So any student that I meet now, I tell them fairly objective things about their stuff, but I try not to critique style. Because I think back on that thing I said to that one guy, and it's like the dumbest piece of advice I ever gave anybody. So there you go.
I'm dying to know who's the musician you came to work for.
Kelly Jo Phelps.
Thank you.
So he told me, he's like, you gotta move there, it's a great place you fit in. I was like, all right, cool.
Here you are.
Here you are.
What about the comic book artist?
Mike Mignola. So Mike Mignola is the guy who created Hellboy, and he's one of my favorite artists ever. I met him 3 times. The first 2 times, he called me a genius in front of people, and the 3rd time, he didn't remember who I was at all. So it was like, yes, oh no. So,
That's definitely part of the job. Yes. Oh, no. I think self-promotion is the hardest part of the job for sure. That the business, I don't know if you all, being an artist, you have that side of you, but the business side is a whole different.
Yeah.
It's the hardest.
I'm just noting that there's some very lovely through lines and themes of self-belief and doubt and moments of inspiration and belief inherited from other people or not, or obstacles that other people have given you, which is fascinating. I'm curious to know what you all are up to right now. Do you have any curiosities you're exploring, anything you're excited about within your artwork or your life at the moment? Anything tugging at your heart, telling you where this next year might lead you?
Anybody want to jump?
I could start and go back.
to go back. Mix it up.
So I became a dad in March of 2025, and that has severely limited the window I have
Yeah.
for like what can I do and when can I do it. And so right now I'm working for a video game company and I draw comics for them. But when I have my own time, I like to draw strange little Victorian vignettes. And I also love the original Sherlock Holmes canon a lot. So I love when they mention things at the beginning of stories and they'll list all these cases that you never get to see. So I wanted to draw, not those specifically, but things like that. So that's what I do when I have my own downtime. And then I also had this idea that I want to write little comics essays about things that matter to me. This is going to sound silly, but when I have a half an hour of time when my wife has gone to sleep and my baby has gone to sleep and I have the energy, I sometimes play video games. And I played one on a PlayStation I inherited from a friend who passed away from brain cancer. And he would buy games, and his whole thing was he's like, I'm not trying to challenge myself. I just want to have some fun. And so now when I play these games, I just have fun. But I played this game called God of War, and I thought, it's just going to be a guy with knives running around doing all this stuff. And it's a game about fatherhood and fate and all these things. And I was like, oh my God, am I going to cry at this game about a guy who's got chain swords? This is nonsense. But I decided, I was like, okay, I'm going to write an essay about the experience of playing this game through the lens of fatherhood for people who may not ever play it or who would never care about this. And I started writing it. It's like, it is long. But I want to do a series of drawings and then caption it and just talk about that. And, when I'm also on this job I'm getting all the opportunity to learn how to do motion comics and think about things in a way that's more like film than it is like static images. So that's been really great. So that's what I feel.
Nice. Yeah, this time of year is a little bit slower for me, just the nature of the work than than the nicer months, although it's gorgeous right now. But so it just changes, I guess. I'm not doing as many portraits. I do work for On Point. I've done their teacher awards every year. I've done work for their pamphlets and billboards and stuff like that. So a little it's still creative in nature for sure, but it's just a different, they obviously are asking for specific things. So the work changes. So I'll do that, but I guess it's just like you were saying, the downtime. I enjoy things like interior design and gardening and things like that. So I often, as my husband will attest to, am constantly changing stuff around the house, painting the house, doing all that kind of stuff this time of year. Gardening, going to, again, get ideas by going to the museum, going to local galleries, going on nature walks, any of that kind of stuff that might inspire you for later on, getting ideas by doing those nature walks. It's not only just seeing beautiful nature, but also getting ideas, in my case, for where I might photograph people the next year. So you kind of go out and scout locations. It's just, all that kind of stuff this time of year for me.
So I have very intentionally kept my money-making career and my art separate throughout my life, and I made that decision pretty early. I tried to be a wedding photographer for one season when I was 20, and I was shooting film and realized that in my experience, weddings brought out the worst in people, so I was not going to do that. And because I want to always love what I'm making and not have to make it. So I have had some career pivots, but I decided a few months ago to go back to school, and I'm getting my master's in mental health counseling. So so that's going to be a big change, and I made that decision partly so that I could bring creative practice and processes into helping profession healing arts, and also because I think just given the world that we live in at this point, having a purpose, doing work that is meaningful, and working directly with people to make an impact, one-on-one, I think is really important. So that's what I'm working on.
So I have relaunched a podcast that I was doing years ago, and we just put out an episode yesterday after like a 2-year hiatus, and it was coming from like, wow, the world is feeling really heavy to me right now, and all the things that I'm listening to during my day are just like politics, which is great, but it's wearing on me a little bit. So putting out something that's a little lighter and some humor back out, even if it's just my friends who are listening to it, feels really good. So
What's it called?
Superfluous, and it's like we will find like a subject that we know a lot about, maybe that is not really important to many other people. So like just the froth knowledge you don't need, but it's just fun to know. So.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff my brain remembers, and I forget all the stuff I should know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Here you have a guest.
Yeah. I always like guests.
Let's see, what was the question?
Yeah, what are you working on now? What are you excited about?
So I've been getting like reinvigorated in my music. Like I was saying, I play a lot of different musical instruments. I've played guitar for a lot of years. I play a number of, if it's plucked or strummed, I could probably make a noise on it. And I do a lot of improvisation in music. So I'm always jazzed about the neuroscience of the brain on improvisation, how it lights up the expressive communicative centers of the brain. So it's a form of expression. In the pandemic, I started teaching myself piano on a little Casio keyboard and released my first piano-based album 9 months later. And it seems I took to it. I'm pretty autodidactic, meaning self-learning. I seem to take to certain things pretty readily. So I'm working on my second piano-based album, and really excited to go into chapel recording and work with Brian Vieira in that studio again. We recently released our first 4 songs recorded here in Milwaukee. There's an EP out on all the streaming platforms. Our band's called Roadside Attraction, and the EP is called Shoulder Seasons. And so I'm excited to really like sink into the musical process. And I've been a home recordist for many years, since I was the age of 15. And so I've used music to kind of chart how things have changed through the years. And most artists, it changes a lot through the years. And I'm also excited about flash photography. I'm getting back into working with small wireless flashes to work with flash off camera. And I just invested in a new kit that I'm really excited to use for portraits and things like that and creative stuff. That's it.
Nice. So inspiring. I love it's fun to hang out and learn more about you guys.
We learned so much about you all today.
I Stand for Love calendar, I've been donating a portion of my print run to schools, and teachers can sign up on my website, and they just tell me how many they want, and I just send them calendars for the classroom, because it was about 2020 when I really thought, who really needs support? So I started sending calendars to nurses and teachers, and just trying to do my little thing to help people stay in, and doing their jobs and feel uplifted and inspired. So this is the year I'm in the process right now of opening up a nonprofit arm of my art company so that I can take donations and start doing more in the classrooms. And I want to do a free coloring book where all the artwork is all in black and white, so the kids they can just print it out in the classroom and do the coloring pages, and just do a lot of things instead of just doing it out of my pocket and printing more calendars and giving them away. Last year it was revealed to me through a group of friends that that's actually something you can get donations for. People can donate to you, and then you can do a lot more and do a lot more good in the classroom. So that's kind of where my focus is right now in the spring, to get that up and running and make a new page on the website and do all that stuff so people know that teachers have this resource available and get it out there.
My nephew goes to Rex Putnam, and his digital photography teacher sent everybody home with your calendars.
Oh my God! Yeah, that's awesome. That's so great. Thanks.
I love meant to tell you
Getting the full circle.
I would add one small thing for me that is just film photography. I think it's really fun right now, especially I do weddings and stuff as well, so I do always offer that, but it's fun to play around with that this time of year for sure. I've been enjoying getting back to that because it's kind of a lost art, but I think I'm excited to see that people are interested in it again now.
I want to make sure we've got time for questions from folks. I think we're going to 1:30, so let's turn it over to all of you. Unless my final thought was thinking about, because we're here in the Milwaukie Learning Library, many members of the Milwaukie Arts Committee. Also, we can think about the beauty of our city, things we like about it, or the Milwaukie Arts Committee. But if anyone has any questions, let's do that.
I don't so much have a question, but just want to thank all of you guys for being on the committee and helping keep arts alive here in our community. So I think we need to give them a full round of applause.
Well, we do open applications for all of the committees, I think in March or April, so look out in your pilot, Milwaukie pilot, they'll have links to, there's a tree commission, there's all these different things, whatever you're into.
Board,
there's a board.
Planning.
Yeah,
And
and
do
the
we have
arts.
an open spot for a youth liaison,
Yeah,
right?
I think
Open
so.
spot for a
Yeah.
youth member, but we always need support and help for our events, and
Yeah.
Porch Fest to be the next one coming up. So, we're always willing to take more volunteers to help, even if you're not on a committee member, but supporting those events. Porch Fest is the last 3 Fridays in July. So I think it's like the 10th, 17th, and 24th. I don't know. Yeah, July.
Thank you for
Yeah.
shouting us out. I appreciate it.
No, please.
So polite.
Do you participate in the First Friday events?
We don't.
It's so good.
There's been some back and forth of who kind of owns that, but it's more of a downtown Milwaukie association. So, yeah.
I've got 3 or maybe 4. Sorry.
Yeah, sure, go for it.
How many people are on the Milwaukie Arts Committee? Is it flexible or is it set number?
There's a set.
Yeah.
There's a maximum number.
Yeah, there's a maximum number.
Which I can't remember is 7 or 9.
Also
I
have
think it's got to be 9.
Adair, Josh. I'm thinking of who's not here, Zach.
I think we all have designated
Gabriella.
numbers.
So there's four more people than what's
Right.
here.
Yeah, so there's 9 plus a youth.
Mhm.
Plus a
Yeah,
youth.
plus 2 youth.
And then we have
Two
a,
youth members, and we do have 1 youth member spot open right now.
and then Jordan Imla with the city is our city liaison.
Yeah,
So
and he
he's-
did the cats, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, his work is represented.
Cosmic cat.
Yes.
The space cats back
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Are any of your committee meetings open for the public?
They
Yeah.
all.
I think
All
yeah.
of them.
All of them.
All of them.
They're very
Yes.
fun to attend. Also, I can attest, even if
Candid.
you're not a committee member, genuinely, I go to a lot of public committee meetings, and the Milwaukie Arts Committee ones are the best, in my opinion.
Most
A little
fun.
biased, but
You
genuinely.
get the most fun coming up,
Yep, next,
do?
next
Yeah,
Wednesday.
fourth
it's
Wednesday of
City,
every month.
City Hall.
6 to
Yeah.
7:30. Oh.
Yeah.
So every meeting I have is on Wednesday.
6 to 7:30.
Yeah.
Sorry you can't make it.
I'll have to work something out. My question sounds a little selfish, but I manage a community theater, and aside from the committee passing on our publicity releases, what else can the Milwaukie Arts Committee do for my desperately small, poor community theater? Because I need help so badly.
What do you need?
Everything. Publicity is a humongous chore for me. It just takes hours and hours and hours. And of course money, but you know, finding a venue is probably the number one.
Okay.
This is very poor area for performance places. But I've kind of run out of energy after 20 years.
Yeah.
And so now I'm kind of, I guess I've turned into the person who's begging for help because I can't do it anymore.
I think that's what time it is. In general, I don't know how to answer the question right now in this moment because I think we all struggle with the publicity and the different things, but I feel like the time of the shouldering the burdens of our own lives and our own dreams and our own community, you know, vision of what we want to bring is time that we have a lot more connection and a lot more asking, you know, the in general, the paradigm of you need help, then there's weakness there, and there, you know, we can't show weakness, we got to do everything ourselves. All that stuff, I feel like in the general sense is on its way out because we know it's not sustainable. And so thank you for modeling that, you know, you have been doing something for quite a long time. It's not a new idea. It's something that's already established, and it's become harder and harder to do. And so here's a chance to ask your community. And I think that is just, let's all turn up the volume as much as we can. And, you know, it's like a lot of times we don't think that we have something to give until someone says, hey, can you go from here to here and bring this over, you know, thing that I need to be, and we all like to be the person that shows up and you know, saves the day or helps out. I don't like to be the person that asks for help. I have a very resistance, so I think building that muscle and keeping things alive. If it's a matter of keeping a community theater alive, I bet that there are a lot of people in the community that would go, wait, what? Who? Where is this? And how do I help?
Maybe
So-
connections with Chapel Hill, or Chapel Hill,
Yeah.
Chapel Theater.
Yeah.
Well, people
Yeah, I was
come
gonna
to
say,
us.
do you wanna
don't they,
tell
do
us
they
all-
propose
Yeah.
things that are
Or-
public
Do you
domain,
want to tell us all
Right.
the name? I think I know which theater company
Oh,
you're talking
yes,
about. But
I am managing director of New Century Players Community Theater, and we do not have a permanent home. We have performed everywhere in the entire area, so you could have seen us anywhere in the last 20 years.
I think this is a little bit down the road, but aren't they opening an improv theater in
Yeah,
Milwaukee?
Bridge City Improv is opening
Yeah.
theater
On Main Street.
And the new,
No way.
yeah, so that might be something in the future. It's not built yet, but it's,
B-side is also
yeah.
proposed.
Oh yeah, B-side, might be, B-side could be someone to
Performance
speak to
space.
as well. They have
Yeah,
more space.
their back room, they're turned into a community
Yeah.
performance.
such a fun space.
I
Yeah.
also just wanted to add to, if like you do want help from the Arts Committee, it is also good to remember that we are all volunteers. So, and we have budget constraints that we work into and specific things that the budget goes towards. But also coming to us with like specifics, like, hey, I need help with this specific thing.
Yeah.
Can you help me with that? Is more helpful than like, I just need help in general because we also are just volunteers and might not know where to start too. But I mean, coming to a meeting and meeting people and coming with something specific is really helpful too.
And certainly send us your social media posts.
Yeah,
Like we
You
can
can
pass
reshare
that on
that
our website. So yeah, please do. That
Yeah.
includes anyone doing artsy, cultural things. We want to share those with our followers on the Arts Committee page.
Well, and maybe being paired up with someone for Porch Fest too could be interesting, right? Like it's a lot of music, but there's also
They've done
improv
comedy
and-
before,
comedy
so
that's
maybe you
happened,
could do some
so-
improv.
Performance
There
art.
aren't many funny people anymore.
Needs to work on that.
No, there's one Porch Fest location that does stand-up comedy and drag shows.
Yeah.
And so like you can
You could get
kind of
creative
open up the
and
door.
do
It's
your
not
own-
just
yeah.
music at Porch
Yeah.
Fest. So
It's
we
a
might-
performance area.
Yeah.
Like that, yeah.
and we can put you on the map.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go in front and then.
Okay, I was just wanted to comment that I enjoyed the mural outside the post office.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I wondered
Nice.
If you guys had any plans of doing maybe another mural, or I don't know if you guys sign up on that.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, right now we have our youth committee member is trying to get a mural done at the high school that's done by high school students. We currently don't have any applications in for murals, but we are always taking applications. You know, and we do a lot of like, oh, I, you know, want to do this mural, I have this idea. We can help like find artists for that. We can help with funding with it as well. So I don't think anything's like specifically on the docket right now.
The last one we did was the arch inside of Keeper Coffee, where we helped finance that and proposed the artists for the Henry Point development to choose from, right? Like that was kind of our role in
And
that.
the Milwaukie Community Center.
Yeah.
as well, too.
So again,
And post
if you're able to
offices.
come to a meeting, it's always, you know, helpful to do that, and then you can give out ideas if you maybe just come to one to see what it's about first, and then you can kind of come back with ideas and artists and whatever. We can see if we have the money for it.
So we tend to do stuff, and correct me if I say this wrong, incorrectly, that we tend to finance events that are community focused, projects that put art in front of the community, like the Spheres that's in
Public art.
I don't remember the Dogwood Park. I don't remember the name of the park that's on the way near the post office. It's it looks like a tree.
Oh.
So like that. We do stuff like that, and so there are things where I'm like, okay, I remember proposing I wanted to do a little mini comics fest in this room, but then I had a kid and I had a bunch of other stuff to do. But that's the kind of thing we're trying to make happen.
Different forms.
Yeah, like the more ways in which you can afford people venues to do their thing, participate in a way that is focused in sharing things with their neighbors, that's the kind of stuff we're trying to do. So if anybody wants to come to an arts committee meeting and bring something up that they might want to try, I think we're generally open-minded about what's possible, investing whatever energy we can and making it happen.
And people come up, there's walls out there for murals that have kind of been floating around for a while.
Yeah.
I know that the little blue store, they changed hands. Like it was talking about a mural, and now there's new ownership and stuff. So it's like the more kind of energy one place gets, I think it takes a little while to get all the pieces together. But some things are out there for years before it like comes, and we get all of that and make it actually happen. But more murals, I think, and more sculpture garden. We do that. Juried every couple of years. We can switch out the art in there. So more public art, we're definitely for it.
Yeah, we have a new piece of public art just behind the library here in Scott Park, another sculpture from Tyler Fuqua, who did the big cherry sculpture in the sculpture garden by City Hall. So that's a new city-owned piece of art. And I just also want to say, like, we're relearning how to do this. Like, so the pandemic closed everything down, and like we started coming up with ideas like Porch Fest to like get us back and connected and still like socially distanced back in those days. So we're just learning again like how to create public art.
And being in the new year was kind of like that too. Like I don't know what the impetus was initially, but Sam had a lot to do with it.
Oh yeah.
And like if it wasn't for her and then like everybody stepping up to do it, the first year I went to it, I had no idea. I was like, cool, this is what Milwaukie does. It wouldn't be if
It's
it
one
wasn't
person's
for the
idea,
community.
and
So like stuff like that can emerge organically, and then suddenly you have this thing that can become an institution, which is really neat.
It's only year 3, and it feels like it's been
Yeah.
forever.
And I think that's one thing that's really worth underscoring, and that's one thing that I, as someone who goes to a lot of city public meetings, think is really incredible about the city of Milwaukie and Milwaukie Arts Committee is that it does feel truly accessible, where 1 or 2 people can have an idea, and it's an awesome idea, and as opposed to encountering paperwork and roadblocks, I mean, sure, there has to be some level of, safety checks or whatever, but people say, this is a great idea, and it happens, and that's also a testament to our community.
Yeah.
So if you have an awesome idea, more often than not, I feel like,
Yeah.
exactly,
Come
like it's
tell us about it.
possible. I also want to give a shout out to that mural artist, Kanani Miyamoto, who's amazing. If you don't know her, she's also a printmaker, Portland-based, Native Hawaiian. She's really, really fabulous. So that's a beautiful, large artwork, but she's so talented.
Is there a possibility that here in Milwaukie we can have a Milwaukie Open Studios? Like the Porch Fest so popular, but for us visual artists, you know, like this year, Cheryl and I were in Lake Oswego, and lots of people go to it. It brings money in, but for us to be able to open our studios, our neighbors come in. I think, you know, I know I've traveled and lived in several foreign countries and I've traveled all over. The first thing we do is look for what kind of active art is out there. So is that a possibility that we can do that?
I know there's one artist here in downtown Milwaukee, Val Hubbard, who used to be an arts committee member, who's been a part of Open Studios, but probably the Portland version, and it's just sort of expanded the map out here. But I don't know of a Milwaukee specific.
Portland has cut off for us to do it, because I did it 2 years ago in my studio here in Milwaukee. And so the option was to apply for Portland Open Studios or Lake Oswego. So if we got it here, then people come to our city and then they go to all the restaurants and they spend money other places instead of going to those. So that's just, you know, it's kind of like a porch fest. Just open your studio, and if we did something like that, even on a regular basis, it's like, you know, hey, this is whatever, maybe once a quarter, everybody open their studios and people will come, you know, to the city.
Maybe it could be connected somehow to First Friday, or
I
you know,
think
have
that's
it on
one
the
of those
same
things too.
night.
It's like, you know, if there's interest, like come to the committee, you know, and present it, see like what we can do to support and help. Some of those things need like a spearhead to start it, you know? When we look at our calendar, it's like, oh, we have this and this and this, but you know, if someone comes and is like, hey, we would like to see this happen, how can like I help, how can we all support, you know, to work together, is way, I think things get done more quickly that way than just like, you know?
Right, the mural that our youth member is doing, there's no way it would have happened if she hadn't been this relentless force of nature. She just doesn't say no, or doesn't just take no for an answer. She's just like, she'll just keep going. I'm like, all right, well, I guess now there's going to be a mural in the high school because Adair says so. And so, like, I think that kind of thing, like, sounds awesome. And like, it's just a matter of if you have, you know, logistical understanding of how it was done, and then you bring it to us and we talk about it in our January planning meeting for like whatever's going to come up, you know, figuring out, okay, well, like, could we tie it to something? What would be the best time of year if we were only to do it once a year? And then you get that initial, you know, seed growing, and it can turn into more. But it does require, like, I think it's an awesome idea, but I have no idea how to start it personally.
Yeah.
I'd love to know if there was an Open Studios in the past, and if there's someone who may have experience with that.
Or like institutional memory.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone to Open Studios, but I think
I just know of
Portland.
Studios that was doing work
They're
here.
doing one in like Oregon City now too, but I haven't seen one in Milwaukee.
Yeah, I feel like that'd be the kind of thing where if you were to write up a proposal about what you know and bring it in, like the more you know about it before you propose it to the committee, the more likelihood there is for us to say, okay, cool, yeah, we can donate this amount of our budget to, you know, I don't know, hiring somebody to coordinate with the studios and do background checks or whatever it is that needs to be done.
And, you know,
yeah,
for sure.
Because like if we don't know how to get started and someone's like, you know, we should build a boat. I'm like, yeah, we should. I love boats. But then nobody knows how to do it.
It just
like,
kind of gets pushed back.
It's sink slowly. Like so, like it's the type of thing where like if the inertia of the committee is like there's already things we kind of have going that people have figured out, or you know, some beleaguered committee member took the lion's share of doing, and you know, like I think we're all very much open to expanding the mission of what we do, but it really does help if somebody has put time into figuring out what the logistics are of that, because then we're like, yeah, cool, you know all the things, great, let's get
Well, and like Sarah was saying also, you know, to your point, like you don't have to have all the answers or say that you're going to do it all yourself, but coming to the committee with a solid idea and some bullet points and, you know, questions even, like, can you help with this?
Last Wednesday from 6 to
Fourth
Wednesday from 6 to 7:30.
At City Hall.
City Hall.
Yeah.
And if you haven't been to the new City Hall, the art in there that they've done and that they commissioned from different artists is really cool too. They've made it a very artsy space for city workers to live, and work.
Yeah, it's most often just on the bottom floor.
Yeah.
There was a question back in the back there.
I mean, no disrespect when I ask this question, purely out of curiosity, but was the Porch Fest program spearheaded by somebody outside of the committee and brought to you, or did you take it on yourselves?
No, that was spearheaded by Samantha Swindler too.
Yeah.
Who spearheaded
Who was
being,
the
yeah.
president?
Yeah. So, like a neighbor, I think, gave her the idea, and we just kind of made it our own.
This might be not a good question either, but regarding doing a pop-up in our individual studios, is that something we would also come to the committee and ask more about, or just to find out if people are doing that for visual arts?
Well, I mean, if you had an individual event that you were doing yourself, you're welcome to email us and we can promote it on our social media.
Yeah, and
We're happy with Clackamas Arts Alliance. We're happy
They
to
actually,
promote that as well.
yeah, you
And
have
I'm
a
happy
form
to-
you can fill out
Yeah.
with them that will put it on their calendar.
And
for
I'm
the
happy
whole-
to be in touch with you too about open studios because I can put you in touch with, partner organizations who are planning the same things, whether it's the planners of the Lake Oswego one or the Oregon City one, and we can talk.
And this show that we're a part of, it's an ongoing rotating exhibition
Yeah,
that
if you
Sarah
have work
organized.
Yeah,
the
if
show.
anybody wants to show their art here in
Yeah,
this
yeah.
room, please talk to me because all year they just asked, it was another thing that they had all these beautiful blank walls, but nobody on the library, employees wanted to take on as an extra thing for them to do, so they came to us and said, can someone just start to curate in here? And it was all just very organic, and I think when they first came to us, we were all very busy, and it was kind of the end of the year. And I said, I can do it if I can wait till January, and then we just started it up. So it's really also been a word of mouth, local artists, usually 2 or 3 artists at a time, and then art hangs up for a couple months. So a lot of things happen in this room. A lot of people get to see your art, and the library doesn't take a cut. It's not like having it at a gallery and splitting up if someone wants to buy a piece of art. So it's a really awesome space, and they are so grateful to have art in this room that is usually local or Portland artists, and that gets to get changed out every couple months, and they don't have to manage it or run it. So that's just something that kind of also happened organically. But yeah, if you have art, and I'm curating for 2026 right now. So.
And then you'll do a meet the artist.
Yeah, and then we
less
usually-
formal than this, just snacks, and you can talk to people who are looking at your art, sell your work, whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And it's still a process of learning how to hang things, but we're getting better.
Don't worry, you'll have no imposter syndrome when you hang out with us trying to hang our artwork every 2 months. It's like, how does this work again?
Yeah. 3 things fell off the wall. Can you hear
Yeah,
my phone?
yeah. Last time the library was emailing us, 3 pieces of art fell down. Okay, we'll be right over. So put your faith in us, is what I'm saying.
I figured out some zip tie stuff that works.
Yeah, there's zip ties, there's tape. It's very professional.
Can I piggyback off that?
Yeah.
Just to say, for anyone who's gone to the Historic City Hall and seen the artwork hanging up in those spaces too, there's the very beautiful mural and wraps around the stairwell and the archway, but there's gallery spaces in the top and the bottom of that, and that's managed by the Clackamas Arts Alliance. That is another similar program where you only need to be a resident or work within Clackamas County to apply. It is free to apply, and it is also commission free. Our goal is to beautify spaces that might not otherwise be seen as places where you want to stop, or places of beauty like in hospitals or county offices, but also to really provide this level up opportunity for our community members and local artists so that people get a solo show on their record. And how amazing is that? And they can invite their friends and do a photo shoot in their gallery space if you really want to be enterprising. I've got some information about that in the back as well as my contact info, but feel free to just talk to me about it. We're also, kind of in a related note, our very lovely longtime gallery manager just retired, and so we're actually hiring for someone to be our new gallery manager, and we're accepting job applications through February 2nd. So if you or someone you know is an amazing person who wants to help support local artists and arts initiatives, that's a cool thing that's happening right now.
And I just wanted to say thank you to the Clackamas County Arts Alliance, because I'm going to be the artist that will be in the City Hall.
Oh,
Yay.
Lovely.
Yay.
Tell us your name.
Brett.
Yay.
Brett,
Okay. Okay, everybody walk. Everybody take a walk after this over down to get lunch and look at the cool art.
And the only other one I think in Milwaukee right now is the Providence Hospital, but there's more spaces, 20 now around the county.
Wow.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Do you guys work with like Portland art community and, you know, different communities like that? I mean, I live just on the other side of Johnson Creek, so I'm technically in Portland. Just
Yeah.
curious. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we don't have any, we're not checking your mail or anything. We've tried actually to get Portland to work with us more, and one thing we're trying to do is get on the Winter Lights festival. So we're always trying to build the bridges and more art and yes, more community. So it's not. Some things have some grants and other things do have local only kind of or county-wide things, but most of the time, like volunteering or being a part of Porch Fest or doing, or hanging art in this room, that could all be people from the surrounding areas, in my opinion.
Yeah, we might not. We might not put a Portland location on our Porch Fest map, but we would invite bands from everywhere to come.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be like specifically Milwaukee, or I mean, most of our murals are not done by Milwaukee artists.
Right.
Our sculptures, we invite other artists to participate too.
All right. Yeah, I feel like unless there's any more questions, let's have a big round of applause for our Thank you all for joining us.
Yeah, thanks.
And I feel like we've got so many creative people in the room, so feel free to introduce yourselves to each other, check out the artist's work, say hi to all of us, and
have a muffin.
Have a muffin. Have an orange.
Thank you.
So good to see you again. I was actually at the grants meeting.
Oh,
yes.